Hey there, Suzi here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share this special message with you. Now, my co-host Michelle and I love masterminds. Not only do we belong to masterminds, but we also host a mastermind. We started it almost 8 years ago, and it is the premier mastermind for women business owners who want to grow their business with a specific focus on marketing. Now, this group is usually completely booked out, and very occasionally we open the doors and invite a handful of women in. So if you're growing your business, but you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed, or like you constantly have a split focus when it comes to your marketing, this could be exactly what you're looking for. We have an amazing time together, and the women in the group are extraordinary. They're great cheerleaders, supporters, advisors, and colleagues for you. And they're also seeing extraordinary results. We see people cracking the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million mark, launching new e-commerce sites that go from $0 to $10,000 a month in sales. They're doubling their conversion rates, they're growing memberships, they're selling courses, they're growing their personal brands, and they're getting all kinds of media exposure and speaking opportunities and so much more. You can learn more about the mastermind and join the wait list over at herbusinessmastermind.com. We're going to open the doors soon, so you definitely want to be on the list to get an invitation. So head on over to herbusinessmastermind.com. Hi, you're listening to the Content Sells Podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 216. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi, I'm doing great. Thank you very much.
Me too. And today we're talking about something that I think is really an ongoing practice or mindset that we want to be in when it comes to our online sales process and sales funnels.
Absolutely. Many times I see people put in a ton of effort upfront, creating a sales process, a funnel. That is a series of steps for taking someone from not knowing about them or their offer to actually moving them to the point where they're ready to buy that specific product or service that they want to sell. So I see a lot of effort going to creating these sales processes, these online sales funnels. And I see a lot of obsession about this before they launch, worrying about the color of their logo or the font on their sales page, or if they should use this image or that image on their Facebook ads. But then they launch, they go live, and there can be this sense of like, tick, that job is done, on with the next, when really you're just at the starting line. And I think that's that mindset that you were speaking about, Suzi, realizing that the work is just beginning.
It's a little bit of that build it and they will come idea. And more I see, and my heart breaks a little when they don't come. We built the thing, we've checked that box that you just said, and it's not happening. And so optimizing your traffic, your sales page, your email sequences, optimizing all of those is not a nice to have. It's actually a necessary step to get things working in the first place. And it's really quite rare that the first thing you put together is going to totally knock it out of the park. And that goes for, us with all our experience, let alone if you're doing something for the very first time. And that's why we wanted to dedicate today's episode to what happens after you launch your sales process or your sales funnel. What do you focus on then? How do you optimize the various moving parts to keep getting better and better results? So we've got a number of tips for you today for doing exactly that.
Yes, and I want to underline that point you just made, Suzi, and that is to see what you go live with when you launch your funnel as the start of your experiment. You're like a scientist in the lab, and you have this hypothesis that if you mix this with that, you'll get a particular outcome. I've got this mental picture of a crazy scientist in a lab, mixing things into different test tubes. But you don't know, and that scientist doesn't know until they actually do the experiment.
Right.
So it's much, much better if you've got this mindset. It's much better to go live with an MVP, that is a minimum viable product version of your sales process, your online sales funnel, and then iterate from there. Just kind of throw up what you think might be going to work versus spending weeks, months, or even sometimes I've met people who've been stuck at that funnel build stage for years trying to get it perfect. And I hear what you're saying, Suzi, about that being heartbreaking. Because here's the scoop. You won't get it perfect. It doesn't matter how much time you invest before you launch.
Right.
You're going to launch something that's imperfect. The best way to get a highly performing online sales process and online sales funnel is to get to market fast with a less than perfect funnel and start running some traffic through it. Then you watch the metrics. This is that mindset we were talking about. You're at the starting line. You just go live with what you can, the best with what you can with the time that you have. You go live, then you start seeing how people behave when they move through your funnel, when they move through that sales process. And the way you can tell how they're behaving is you watch the metrics. Just like you would if you were a scientist, you're going to rely on the data. A scientist would record what happens in the experiment and use that data to help them figure out what's working and what's not. And that's you. You're the scientist of your sales process, your online sales funnel. And you're going to tweak a few things, realize what's not working, tweak a few things, and then watch again and see what happens. And you want to apply this dedication to your sales funnel. This is the magic source of a high-performing sales funnel.
And I just want to add to what you said there, Michelle, because we're not talking about slapping anything together and putting it out there.
Right.
We're talking about having a considered approach, doing the best you can with what you have. Michelle and I spent years and years creating resource after resource after resource to help women put together a sales process, put together a sales funnel. So there's loads of, things to consider as you're doing this. We're not talking about just do anything, but the thing is, get it out there in its imperfect way, because not only is it going to be imperfect, guaranteed, but it'll just give you that testing ground, that experimentation ground. And with this mindset shift of getting it out there, it also puts the emphasis, as Michelle said, on getting traffic through your funnel, getting traffic to your offer, getting eyeballs on whatever it is you've created, because you're going to find you need a reasonable number of people clicking on your ads, opting in for your lead magnet or your webinar, or signing up for your one-to-one sales calls, or going to your sales page. Whatever the process is, you're going to need probably more people than you think you need doing those things in order to see how that experiment is really going. So if you shift your energy from putting 80% of your blood, sweat, and tears into trying to guess what a good funnel will be, to putting 20% of your energy into getting a good enough funnel, that's a good enough funnel that you can go live with, and then spend 80% of your energy into getting traffic into that funnel and analyzing and optimizing from there. And I'm sure, like me, you have seen a lot of non-optimal marketing out there that's killing it, because they're getting enough eyeballs on it, on that very imperfect thing. And so we got to get away from that perfectionism of having to have it absolutely right.
100,000 million bazillion %. I agree. We've talked about this a bit on the show before, and it's something we know our marketing success masterminders, for example, have really grabbed onto, and it's created these incredible results. This idea of launching something good enough, something that's using the best practices, something that is imperfect, but they know they have this ongoing dedication. Their shift in energy has shifted from making sure everything's pixel perfect and is that shade of blue right, or is that shade of blue right, to like getting it live and then putting their energy into optimizing, into getting people to look at it, into getting traffic, into finding where the gaps are and plugging those gaps. That's really what's going to make the difference for you, not sort of agonizing before you launch. And most new or inexperienced marketers have their marketing mindset the other way around. They're investing 80% in what I call building the hotel. That is deliberating over every detail of their online course and over investing in their branding and sweating the small stuff of their newsletter or their email sequence. And that can feel like you're being really busy. It really can be very time consuming. I'm not wanting to underestimate that. But the disappointing thing is that you can do all that work, be all that busy, and still not have any sales, because we're often only investing 20%. And Suzi, I think probably between you and me, that's being generous, into filling the hotel. That is, into putting our offer in front of as many of our ideal prospects as possible. Like you said, Suzi, getting more eyeballs, just seeing our sales page, just reading our offer, just hearing our objection handling tactics, reading through the bonuses, put the buy button in front of them. And so if you think about this hotel analogy, and you may have heard us speak about it before, but Hilton hotels, they don't go in all that effort of building a hotel It takes a bit to build a hotel, a lot of investment, but they don't go to all that effort to build a hotel and then do a half-hearted effort to fill the hotel. And they don't on the first night go, oh, well, let's see, hardly anybody came. I reckon this hotel's not working. Let's go and build a different one. This one doesn't work. They know that they have made an investment. They've created an asset. And they, even with all the effort it takes to build a hotel, over the life of that hotel, that early construction will only represent at best 20% of the effort that business spends filling the hotel every night of every week, of every month, of every single year. So your job is to, yes, you want to build the hotel. And in this case, the hotel is your online sales process. You want to have a sales page. You want to have your webinar. You want to have all of those things. That's your hotel. But then you need to fill that freaking hotel every day, every week, every month, every year, or whatever the time period is that you're doing your promotions.
Because here's what we know. Hotels work. Webinars work. Challenges work. One-on-one consultation works. Facebook groups work. A lot of things work. And so if you've created a funnel and it's not working, it may not be the method. It could be something that by looking at what we're talking about today, and that is optimizing the process, might be where it's at for you. So let's imagine that you've got your scientist hat on. You've launched your MVP, which, as Michelle explained, is the minimal viable product version of your sales funnel, or you've got an existing sales funnel that you realize you haven't been paying enough attention to. Like you've thrown up a course onto your website and you're thinking, well, nobody's buying. Well, what now? Well, our first tip is to start at the front of your funnel. What do we mean by that? Well, if you think of the idea, if you picture a funnel and it's lying on its side, you can see that at the front is wide. It's the wide end, and it gets progressively narrower. Now, that's the process that you're taking people through when you're asking them to buy from you. So you throw the net relatively wide to start with your awareness step, whatever you're doing to get people aware of what you do. So how can you find as many people as possible who are your ideal customers to even know about you and what you do? So hopefully you're doing something for that awareness step. And here they land at the front of your funnel. And here at the front of the funnel, or sometimes it's referred to as the top of the funnel, or tofu for short, you're doing things like you're potentially running paid ads on platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube. You might be publishing podcast episodes like this one where you give people a next step to come into your world. You might be speaking on other people's stages or being a guest on other people's platforms or programs. You might be sending emails to your email list if you have one. Or you might be setting up strategic alliances or paid arrangement where maybe someone else is going to put you in front of their audience, or someone else is going to send an email to their database on your behalf. Now, the reason we suggest start optimizing at the front of your funnel is because that is where you can make the biggest difference. That's likely where the biggest problem or gap is for you. So imagine you're doing Facebook ads driving people to opt in for your free webinar. And imagine for every 1,000 people who see your ad right now, you're getting one person, just one person to click on that ad. That would be a click-through rate of 0.1%. Now imagine if you could double that by tweaking the ad copy and the targeting for your ads and other variables to get 2 people per 1,000 to click on that ad. And imagine if you could get that click-through rate to more like 1 in 100 people who see your ad actually click. So you'd go from this 0.1% through to a 1% click-through rate. Now, it may not sound like much as a percentage, but you've actually increased the amount of traffic going into your funnel by 10 times. So when you first put your offer out there, when you first launch your funnel, you might be getting 20 clicks a day. And by optimizing, you can get that up to 200 clicks a day. And even without improving other parts of the funnel, simply by improving what's happening at the front of the funnel, the number of leads, you could be doubling or tripling or more your results. So optimizing the front end of your funnel is actually the fastest way to flush a lot more traffic through the whole funnel. So the kind of things that you want to test are things like headlines. Does one headline perform better than another? You want to try a bunch of different hooks. Which ones are getting people's attention? You might want to test images. So remember, we've still got this scientist hat on. What ad images does your audience resonate with? We're finding with some campaigns that ads that have images of me tend to work better than images of other people or other things. And images that look natural and not posed work better than those that look like professional headshots. But the key with images is to test and test a lot of them, because you want to stop people in their tracks, right? People are busy. And so what will make them notice you? What makes you notice others? What stops your attention? What stops you and gets your attention? So you may typically find that stock images or other more boring images aren't getting cut through, and that something a bit more unusual or less polished might work better for you too. But it's really about experimentation with your images. And the same goes for, well, do I use long copy or short copy? So do ads that tell long form stories work better for you and your audience than shorter, punchier ads? Now, you can definitely use AI. We did a great episode recently on AI to help you create multiple versions of copy so that you can test them. The other thing is targeting. Do broad targeting strategies work better for you than more specific, narrower focuses? Does targeting certain demographics or interests get better results than saying, hey, Facebook, just find me women, or just find me men, or just find me whatever it is? So as we said, we're treating this like a scientific experiment that we've been talking about. So don't be discouraged. Know that it can take a little time for you to find your groove and to discover what's actually going to work for you. And that it's okay if you don't know everything right now or how to do all that. You will get there. And now we talked a little bit about paid traffic, but the idea is getting traffic however you can get it. And there's a lot of other people out there that can help you. If you're clear on your strategy and you know who your ideal client is, there's others out there that can do that legwork of getting inside the Facebook ad builder, right? You don't necessarily, we're not saying you need to do all those things. We're talking to you strategically about the easy steps to optimize your online sales process so that you can start to think this way about it, about putting that 80% effort into getting the eyeballs on your offer. So you don't necessarily want to be tinkering with things that are not your expertise, but you do need to understand these steps well enough to be able to have someone put them in place for you.
Yeah, I love that. And it's that intention, isn't it, that's much more strategic. It's much more putting that CEO hat on as well as the scientist experiment hat on, you know, like who can do this for me if I don't want to get in there and learn how to do all of this, but I want to see the numbers at the end of the day. I want that report that shows me. I want to be the person kind of directing the team. I want to be the person holding us accountable to our goals. That's kind of how we can elevate and get leverage with this mindset thinking. And if it's just you, if you're a CEO of one, you know, a business of one, that's okay too. Adopting this mindset and then finding those people who can help you even, you know, as contractors or short-term labor is a great way to think about it. And that idea of optimizing from the front, it holds true as you make your way through your funnel up to a certain point. So, for example, let's say you spent some time optimizing that very front end of the funnel. So Suzi gave us some great things to think about there. Great ways to get traction, thinking about our hooks, thinking about our images and all of those things. So let's say you've really spent the time and you've optimized that. You're starting to see traction. You're starting to really improve those click-through rates. You're starting to wash a lot more traffic through your sales process. The next best place to optimize is where you're sending that traffic to. So you've gone from the very, very front of the funnel to the next step. And that next step is often that consideration step. So Suzi was talking about the awareness step. You know, do they even know about you? Are they clicking on your ads? What's happening next? Then you want to move them very quickly into considering. They want to learn about you. They want to consider the topic that you're talking about. They want to consider that your solution might be a viable alternative for them. So where are you sending them to? It might be to a lead magnet opt-in page. So what can you do on that page to improve the number of people opting in? It might be that you're sending them to an invitation to join your upcoming free webinar. Well, what can you do to get more people signing up for the webinar? These are all acts of optimization. If it's a sales page for a low-cost 5-day challenge or a low-cost workshop, what can you do on that page to get people ready to buy then and there? How can you optimize those pages to improve the number of people taking that step with you? Now, to do that, you need to know an important number, and that's the conversion rate for that page. Now, that number is easy to calculate. It's the number of people who convert on that page divided by the number of people who arrived on that page. I'll say that again. It's the number of people who convert on that page divided by the number of people who arrived on that page. So let's make that real. First, I want to say, what does convert mean? A conversion is when somebody takes the desired activity you have for that page, what that page was designed for. So, for example, if you want people to opt in for your free lead magnet, then the opt-in, the act of somebody going in and putting their name and email address in and going through to your thank you page, that's the conversion. If you want people to sign up for your $5 for 5 days challenge, then someone going to your order form or your payment system and paying you that $5 and clicking buy, that's the conversion, or whatever the next step is you're asking people to take. When they take that step, they've been considered to have converted. That page has converted. So remember, we said your conversion rate is the number you want to understand. It's the number of people who convert on that page divided by the number of people who arrived on that page. So if you sent 200 leads to the opt-in page for your lead magnet, and we know there the conversion is we want them to opt in, and 20 people opted in, that's 20 people divided by 200, that's a 10% conversion rate. So we know as a baseline, when we're looking at our online sales process, our funnel, the conversion rate for that page is 10%. Now, if you don't already know that number, if you have an online sales process right now, you have a sales funnel, and you don't know what that conversion rate is on that first thing you're sending people to, go ahead and figure out how you can find out that number. That is a really important number to understand, because very likely you're going to want to be optimizing that page to improve that number. So for a free lead magnet, you want to work on optimizing that to get it to 20% conversion, ideally 30% conversion or higher. That is, for every 100 people you send to the page, 30 of them are opting in for the page. I have some clients right now seeing a 70% opt-in rate on their lead magnet from cold traffic. That is, people who do not know them. Isn't it incredible? Who are just clicking on ads? And that's like a whole other story. That's a whole other podcast episode we are going to do around really understanding your ideal client. And that is absolutely a great way to optimize what you're doing, is to really sharpen that message and keep sharpening it. So these people are getting 70% opt-in rate on their lead magnet, which is a number I haven't seen for a while. But ideally, you want to get at least 30%, and if you can, 50% or higher conversion rate on your opt-in page if you've got a free lead magnet. Now, when you're asking people to pay you money, perhaps you're asking them to sign up for your low-cost workshop, or you have a low-cost product you just want them to go ahead and buy. Obviously, that conversion percentage tends to go down. And honestly, it's so hard to give you a carte blanche number to say this is your benchmark. It really depends on so many variables, how much you're asking them to spend, what the thing is, how mission critical that thing is to people's existence, all of those things. So it's really hard to give you a number, but you could find that you might get 5% of people visiting your page actually purchase something from you. And that can go up or down. The main point is to find out what your benchmarks are. So it's not a benchmark you need to see as hard and fast. Oh, if I'm not getting 5%, I'm failing. Or, wow, I'm getting 10%, I'm flying high. No, the big idea here is to know your stats and know your benchmarks, and then set about improving them. And if you're watching these numbers on a regular basis, this is what optimization really involves: picking a few key metrics and then figuring out how do I improve these metrics, and then watching those metrics and then going, yeah, we did it, or no, we didn't. Mad scientist hat goes back on. Let's figure out what else we can do. So you want to set about improving your existing benchmarks. And to do that, you've got to know what your existing benchmarks are.
Absolutely.
So what can you do to improve your landing page? What could you do to improve that sales page? And we do have Of course we do. There's a podcast for that. We've got a whole podcast episodes dedicated to these topics. And you can check out those at episode 206 is an episode we did somewhat recently on the 16 essential elements of a high converting sales page. So start by just checking that out. If you're selling something and driving your traffic to that sales page, what could you be doing? Start with optimizing those 16 elements. Know your existing stats. Measure those stats. See if when you change something, does it help? The others is if you've got a landing page, if you're doing something for free, like an opt-in, we've got episode 29 and 30. It was a two-parter. We had lots to say about that. And that's how to create a landing page that converts, parts 1 and 2. And we're going to put a link to those episodes in your show notes. So you can do a bit of legwork on those two areas if you think, yeah, that's where I need to focus on my optimization.
Thanks, Michelle. And if you're thinking, well, that's all well and good, but I don't have a landing page, I don't have a sales page, I'm sending people to my website, I recommend that you listen to those episodes because you're going to get some distinctions on why we're using the words landing page and sales page when it comes to making offers. But there's also going to be a whole lot of things that you're going to be able to map across to whatever your sales process is, your online sales process, whether you're taking to an e-commerce store or your homepage, et cetera, et cetera. So you'll also hear us make a case for thinking about, creating dedicated pages for the key things where you want people to convert. So one of the big things you want to think about here as you're optimizing the page you're sending your traffic to is how consistent is the messaging between the ad they've just seen and the page that people find themselves on. This is so important. It's really easy for people to think that they've arrived in the wrong place if the ad, the copy, the look, the images, the tone is very different to the landing page or sales page that you're sending people to. So you want to make sure there's that consistency so that they think, okay, I clicked that button, I ended up here, I'm in the right place. And this is important, especially very early on in your sales funnel. If you confuse people at this point, you're likely going to lose them. So one of the things to optimize for is to ensure that there's really good connection between this step and the step they've just been on, the thing they did just prior to landing here.
Another thing to think about above and beyond what we go into more detail on in those other specific podcast episodes we just mentioned about optimizing a landing page and sales pages is just generally thinking about the size of the step you're asking people to take. So, I agree completely with what you're saying, Suzi. It's got to feel consistent. The message I got on the ad or the email or whatever that initial piece of information is needs to set me up to, expect what I see on the next step page, that I feel like I'm in the right place. But also, is the size of that step the right size? So if people are just new to you, or if they're just new to learning about the problem that you're helping them to solve, and some of us are solving problems that we've kind of got to educate people on, then you don't want to ask them to go too far too soon. I've seen people try to go from an ad to getting people to sign straight up for a 90-minute webinar and not get any real traction. But when they add a step for, say, a free guide or a PDF or a calculator or a quiz or some other lead magnet that just takes them that little bit further along, and then they offer the webinar as their step 2, as the next thing after that, then everything clicks into place and they get more people to their webinar by adding a smaller step first. So instead of saying add, do you have a problem with having a difficult conversation? They click on the ad and they go straight through to the webinar, or they don't click on the ad because they don't want to give you 90 minutes right now because they don't know who you are. Right. But instead, if you put an ad to like a quick checklist or a quick quiz, what sort of a difficult conversation communicator are you, or whatever that lead magnet is, that smaller step can then mean more people coming into the front of your funnel, which then mean more people coming to your webinar, even though you've got more steps. But conversely, I've seen people have too many steps to start with. And we've seen that one a bit, Suzi. I hear you. The step was too small and people were actually ready to take a bigger step sooner. So sometimes you can try removing the lead magnet step and going straight to the webinar or whatever the example might be for you, that is you've got too many steps in the process. So the idea is the size of the step needs to be right, and you may not get that correct when you first launch your funnel. You may realize, people are stopping in their tracks here. Why is that? And it's because you've put too many steps in or not enough steps in, or you're asking them to do too much too soon. So do experiment with that. Remember, you only want as many steps as you need, no more, and no less. That sounds kind of simple, but it can take some experimentation to get there.
Yeah, and it's actually a big one. And I would say that generally we see people adding too many steps into their funnel, whether it's out of just feeling tentative or they want to give people more time or whatever it is, they're doubting themselves. So it can be really worth it to play around with removing steps. You can also keep the number of steps, but make the thing they're opting in for simpler. For example, in a free lead magnet situation, you may be just offering something too big or that feels like too big of a commitment. My 59-page guide, that might just be too much. I don't have time to read 59 pages. Whereas a simple checklist or a menu or something really easy for me to consume right now could be better than the 90-minute webinar that Michelle answered. But once they've done the first thing, they might be more likely to take that next step. And we found that we're getting great opt-ins with simple one-page checklists, where we used to offer a more detailed guide. And we found that the results were no less, but we were getting more leads because it was just an easier step for people to take. We've also played around with different formats. So we've tried calculators, we've tried a secret podcast audio series, we've done online challenges, we've done webinars, we've done quizzes, and we've also done, as I said, simple one-page checklists. We've even done, like the other end, we've done a 26-speaker week-long summit. Right. So a lot of moving parts, lots going on to make a $97 sale. And while it was fun, we have the capacity and we're great at online events, we probably didn't need to do that much. And that speaks to the point of too many steps. But ultimately, you want to find what works for you, your ideal client, and for the offer that you're trying to make. So more is not better. More steps, more content, any of that. And so we did this week-long summit, and we had 26 speakers and interviews and daily activities and groups and all that. And the truth is we didn't get a whole lot more people signing up to what we were selling than when we had 5,000 people go through the summit than we did when we had 100 people going through a more simplified sales funnel of a webinar to then buy our thing. And so you can't know that always ahead of time. And so that is that little bit of experimentation. But I would definitely start with simple, right? Really don't bite off some big chunk of what your sales funnel needs to be. Start with something simple.
Yeah, Suzi, a mutual friend that we both have, Susan Garrett, who's a world champion dog agility trainer and a former guest on the show, she has this great saying, you either win or you learn.
I love it.
And, I think that's a great mindset to bring to this optimization conversation. I'm either going to hit the nail on the head when I launch this funnel and we can all live with the upside, or I'm going to learn. There's no losing. So, Suzi did an amazing summit. It was incredible. She added a huge amount of value. She learned so much. She made some amazing connections with incredible people like Seth Godin and just incredible people Suzi was able to get on that summit. And she learned a whole bunch of things about what works, what doesn't work, where that might fit, where that might not need to fit, how she can streamline things. So you win or you learn. And that is what will sustain you as you optimize your funnel, because not everything will be a win. And it might take you a bit of time to get to the win. And that's what we're trying to encourage you with and normalize for you today, that it's a process. Stick with it. And Suzi, once we get past that kind of first, we've got them in the ads, we've got them through email, they've come to that first page, whether it's a sales page or a landing page for a free thing. There are some other important things to optimize. And this is where I think you start to shift from just optimizing from the front. Like you don't necessarily have to go, all right, well, the very next step is this and then the very next step is that. I think once you've got that front end traffic and that front end kind of landing pages and sales pages, sort of the first thing you send them to really optimized, you want to really start looking at where are the holes in the rest of the funnel and really looking for the key leverage points. Now, if you're offering something for free, speaking about key leverage points, if you've offered a lead magnet, like Suzi does these incredible checklists, go and sign up for her checklists and go through her funnels. But if you signed up for one of Suzi's amazing checklists, there's something that happens right after you sign up that is one of the most important pages in your entire online sales process, in your entire online sales funnel. And that is the thank you page you show to someone after they've opted in. Now, we call this the step 2 page, and we've got an entire episode on this. So go and check that out if you want to dig into this some more. We've got some free examples a free download there with a whole bunch of examples of different step 2 options for you. But it's essentially the thing you want them to do next. You present right there on the thank you page. You don't wait until they've consumed your free thing. Now, that's all explained in more detail over at episode 11, the step 2 secret. We're going to pop that link in the show notes. But the essence of it is this. When I've opted in for Suzi's amazing checklist and she takes me to the thank you page, she's not committing the mistake that I see a lot of people commit, which is they just go, here's your download. Thank you very much. See you later. She's presenting me with a note that says, awesome, I'm emailing you the lead magnet. It'll be in your inbox in a few minutes. In the meantime, and then she's offering me my next step right there. So it might be, in the meantime, I've got this free training for you. Click here to join. Or in the meantime, I've got this free Facebook group for you to join. Or in the meantime, I've got this webinar. Or in the meantime, I've got this $20 workshop or whatever it is. She's moving me straight into that next step right then and there on the opt-in thank you page. Now, if your lead magnet is a webinar, if you're asking people to sign up for a webinar, then on that thank you page, you want to optimize that for the show up. You want to have something on that thank you page that lets them easily add the date of the webinar to their calendar, that gives you their mobile numbers so that you can send them text reminders. Maybe you've got a video on that page reselling them on why they need to be there. That thank you page, after people have opted in, that first conversion with you is one of the most important pages in your whole sales process.
And I want to just echo what Michelle's saying. It's so wasted. And this is for us one of our secret sources of why we get 93% of people who sign up for a challenge to show up in the Facebook group, or why, we don't waste that opportunity. And quite often I'll see people, no matter what the lead magnet is, it's like, great, what's your inbox for that? Or they'll send them straight to the thing. And really go back and have a listen to that step 2 episode, because it'll be like a mind-blowing when you think, oh my gosh, you mean I could have got them more engaged? I could have got them moving the next step in my funnel right there, without waiting for them to read the 59-page ebook or come to the webinar or any of those things. So +1 to everything Michelle just said. One of the big things that I hope you're gathering from this episode is the importance of keeping track of how many people come through your funnel. And Michelle talked earlier about the statistics of the landing page, and also knowing what percentage are moving forward at each point in the funnel. So again, one of the things that we can do is we can feel like we're doing all the things, we're putting in all the effort, but if we cannot actually look at the numbers, it's hard to know where to optimize. It's hard to know where the funnel is broken. And so we really want you to start to gather those statistics. And if you have a sales funnel that maybe someone else set up for you, or you're not sure how to get those numbers, then you definitely want to find a way to get them. Over time, you're going to start to see where those big drop-offs are. So for example, you might find that you're doing really well getting leads and getting those leads to sign up to your webinar, if that's what you're offering, but then your show up rate to your webinar is really low, right? So that might be the place to focus next. Now, once you're done, or you've done your initial optimizing on the front end of your funnel, which is what we've been talking very much about here, then you can look for those biggest holes, but always focusing on the areas where the biggest leverage points are. So for example, if you found there were 2 big holes in your funnel, one was that people were signing up for the webinar, but they weren't turning up. And 2 could be that people are not opening email 7 in your follow-up sequence. Then which of those holes would you plug in first? Well, the show-up rate for your webinar, because that's where you're going to be able to make your offer. That's where you have the biggest chance of improving your sales. And so going back even to that step 2, just a quick little tip, that's where you want to be giving people, as Michelle said, getting their phone number so that you can SMS them, adding them to the calendar, getting them to add your event to the calendar so that it's, if it's in your calendar, it's likely to happen. Sending a great reminder sequence that gives them all the reasons why they need to be there, getting them engaged from the outset as to why they need to be showing up. So don't get bogged down in the unimportant things. You really want to keep focused where you can have the greatest leverage, where you can really get the best results.
Oh, speak it, sister. I can't reiterate this enough. Yeah, it's really, it's like a warning sign. When you start thinking about stats, you can just go down rabbit holes left and right. Keep remembering when you're optimizing just exactly what Suzi said. Keep focused on where the leverage points are. So remember, it's good to know your stats, but knowing your stats is not filling the hotel. And we had this awareness with someone in our mastermind group. We were talking about all the stats to track. And I said, but remember, this isn't filling your hotel. And she's like, oh my gosh, you're so right. I feel like I'm doing this important work of looking at my stats. But until I actually use those stats to get into action, to make real changes, nothing's changing. So it's what you do with the information and the actions you take that actually help you to fill your hotel. And remember, I'm referring to that earlier kind of analogy that, you've built your hotel, you've built your sales process, now you've got to fill it. So, for example, Fiona Keary, who is one of our marketing success masterminders, we've mentioned her a number of times on this show because she's such a rock star. She is a stylist. She's managed to grow her business from this one-to-one business that really was her providing one-on-one style consultations for people to this fantastically successful business now with a team. She's found many ways to offer a one-to-many service. She's got a membership. She's got a course. She's got a Facebook group that's just off its face successful. And her business is called Style Liberation. The Facebook group is called 35 Plus Where to Shop. And it is great. I love that. It's one of my favorite Facebook groups. But here's what she did. She obsessed about her funnel. She obsessed about the steps in her online sales process and optimizing them. She took a rinse and repeat approach. She didn't do 10 different things. She didn't build one hotel and think, oh, I launched it once and it didn't work, and so I'm just going to go and build another hotel and invest all my time and energy and money and heartache and everything into building a new funnel, a new process. And we can be feeling like that, chasing these bright, shiny objects. She had the discipline. She had the awareness with our support that, no, stick with this one thing. You're on a winner. These pieces all work. You just got to figure out how they fit together. So she rinsed, she repeated, she optimized, she tweaked. Guess what she's got now? She's got a very reliable sales process, a really reliable conversion rate. She just has to now focus on getting X number of people into her front end funnel. And she knows she'll get Y number of clients at the other end. And you hear a lot of this marketing kind of jargon about, create a money-making machine. You put 5 people in the front and turn it into $1 million. And I prickle a bit at that. But really, that's what an online sales process is when you get that. If you think of it as a machine that you need to optimize, you need to grease the wheels, you need to get all the pieces working really well together. And she's done that. But it took time. It took knowing her stats, and then it took taking action on those stats and optimizing, changing, tweaking.
And I want to pick up on that point of rinsing and repeating, because again, this can be a big mind shift for people. I think my mouth's tired from talking today.
Did you say mind shit? Because possibly.
I may have. They might have that. We might need to bleep that out. So you do need to give your funnel time to optimize it. Don't throw it out. Don't throw your arms up. This doesn't work. I'm going to go run down another rabbit hole and do something else. Fiona has run her funnel now for the last few years, at least probably 5 years. And that's because she's made that commitment to rinsing and repeating and tweaking and improving and optimizing. And what's happening is she's now reaping the rewards of all that optimization she's done. And she just keeps focusing. Where else can I optimize? Which bit is still a little broken? Where can I improve that? And it's just such a great example, Michelle, because we get to see her every 3 months as part of the mastermind when we get together, and we see her working on, okay, now what's the next lot of optimization I'm going to be doing in the next 90 days. It's so important to think about rinse, repeat. And to Michelle's words earlier, just keep filling that hotel, rinsing, repeating, tweaking, optimizing, all the words.
All the words. And you're right. Like Fiona's been a fantastic inspiration to others in the mastermind as well. And I think when you see this modeled, I think because we're out there hearing all these marketing messages all the time, this magical strategy and that magical strategy, we can get dragged a bit from pillar to post. And it's quite an unsexy message to say, like, just dig down in the thing you've got and kind of work on the stats and optimize it. But as a mentor once told me, making money is boring. Making a lot of money is really boring. And what he meant by that was exactly what Fiona's doing. She's not going and recreating the wheel every time. She's building on the success of the last time. And she notices those holes where people are dropping off. And then next launch, because she's not reinventing that wheel the whole time, she's already got all her emails written. She already knows what the webinar's about. She's already got the ads done. She can just focus on what she has decided she's going to improve that time around. So it might be the email reminder sequence, because she's noticed the hole is that she's not getting as many people showing up to the webinar. Or she might be trying some new ad approaches so she can reduce her acquisition costs. Or she might be improving the amount of social proof that she puts on her sales page and in her offer, because she's thinking that people need a bit more evidence of others succeeding with this. So she can choose what she's going to optimize each round without having to do everything all at once. And life gets a whole lot more focused and easier. And you typically see an uptick in your results when you can do this.
Yeah, very, very good. We love seeing our masterminders go through this transition. And I'm thinking of several members who now have really high-performing, reliable, repeatable sales funnels. And this really is the pathway to more stress-free marketing and ultimately more results, more leverage, more of the good stuff.
Yeah. And as we get to wrapping up this episode, I mean, we could talk for a week about optimizing your sales process, but the real purpose of this show today is to tune your antenna to knowing your numbers, to rinsing and repeating, to plugging the holes, to focusing on where the leverage points are. And one thing that has really helped me with this idea of focusing on where the leverage points are and knowing what to tweak is a phrase that originated with Gary Halbert, who was a fantastic marketing strategist and writer. And he said, you want to test screams, not whispers. And what does that mean? When you look at your sales page, if you think, right, I'm not getting the conversion rate on this sales page I want, I need to optimize this sales page. We're not talking about changing the color of the font in the FAQ section. That's a whisper. What we're talking about is you might need to completely change the hook for your sales page. You might have been focusing on how they're going to save time, and you might be missing the point. You might find from doing some surveys or digging into, the feedback from your students that actually what they want to do is make more money. So you've got to make that the hook of your headline. So you might change out the headline. You might change out or add in a massive amount of social proof instead. You want to focus on the screams, not the whispers. And that is a universal optimization tactic, whether you're talking about your ads on the front end, whether you're talking about your sales page, whether you're talking about what you cover on your webinar, whether you're talking about what's on your order form. If you're getting people to your order form and they're just not buying, what's going on there? So try something radical on your order form. And then you can start to see, right, if I make that big change, that's what's moving the needle. And the one other thing, Suzi, we may have some people listening to this episode saying, well, hang on, you guys talk about the marketing mountain. Where does that fit into everything? And all I want to say is that really the marketing mountain is this idea of a sales funnel turned upside down. So, you look at this sales funnel, wide at the top, narrow at the bottom, and you're trying to get a lot of people in at the top where it's wide, and then you gradually filter people through. Those that come out the bottom are those that buy from you. Well, just imagine turning that upside down and seeing it like a mountain. At the bottom of the mountain, you've got a lot of people starting the journey with you, but some of them pause at different points up the mountain, or some of them decide this isn't the mountain for me, I'm climbing back down. But you get a certain number of people to the top of the mountain, which is where they buy from you. So if you're wondering, how does this all fit with the mountain? Hopefully that's just joined a couple of dots for you.
Love it. And we'll put a link to that episode as well. That was one of our very, very first ones many moons ago. So we hope that we've inspired you to dust off that funnel that you may already have put a ton of time creating, and really take a look at optimizing it, or that we've given you a way to think about your new funnel that you might be working on right now, or maybe even inspired you to think about creating your first funnel if you've never done one consciously and deliberately before. Between us, we've literally generated millions of dollars with sales funnels. We're big fans, and we're really big fans of not having haphazard funnels, but really being very deliberate and really understanding your funnels and optimizing them as we've outlined today. And we would love to see you optimizing the results you're getting as well. So we've mentioned a bunch of episodes and resources in today's episode, and I'm going to let you know the link to go ahead and access all those in just a moment. But first, I want to give a shout out to someone who has left us a review. We have over 100 5-star reviews. And if you're one of those people who's left us a review, thank you so much. We love to share these tips with as many business owners as possible. And if you're listening and you enjoyed today's episode, if you got something, you're taking something away, would you leave us a rating or review on Apple Podcasts? One of my favorite episodes, Michelle, and I know one of yours as well, is one where we talked about the 7 elements of an offer and how to craft offers that sell. And this is an episode that we did a long time ago, but it's one that we keep referring people to. And that is the episode that Louise Davis of Louise Davis Consulting has left us a review about. She said, using the 7 elements of an offer gets me very clear, and that clarity makes it easier for my clients. They don't have to work so hard to understand what I'm saying. They can see it. #no-brainer. And Louise is one of our amazing mastermind members and a Her Business Network member. She helps HR leaders develop frontline managers who focus on employee engagement, and she helps them to really increase their staff retention and to build buoyant teams in a program. And so she delivers results in 6 months or less. So thank you, Louise, for the shout out. You're awesome. We love you. We love the work that you do, and we are so grateful for your review. Now, we mentioned, as we said, a bunch of different resources for you that are going to help you go deeper into this idea of steps for optimizing your online sales process. We're going to put those details over on our website at herbusiness.com/optimize funnel. That's herbusiness.com, optimize funnel. And Michelle, before we go, what do we have coming up next?
We are going to be talking about something I don't think we've ever really talked about on the show before. My husband said to me the other day, how do you keep coming up with episode ideas for this show? But really, this is such a rich vein of, information, learning about content marketing. There's always something new. This is not something new. This is something that's been around for a long time, but it's new to the show. And that is the strategy of creating some kind of industry-related or topic-related report that you become known as the publisher for, that really builds your personal brand and establishes your authority. Now, you might be thinking, well, isn't that for sort of people that maybe run professional services? We're going to show you how this can be a strategy that works for you, whether you have a trade business. You might be, selling plumbing or solar or electrical services, all the way through to if you are somebody who does market research, or you are somebody who is an expert in accounting, or anything in between. Publishing some kind of annual or semi-regular report has so many advantages. It is such an interesting strategy. We cannot wait to get into it with you all in the next episode.
That is coming up 2 weeks from now. I'm very excited about that episode because it is something that a lot of people probably wouldn't have thought of, yet they have an amazing authority, amazing information that could really have them stand out as the authority in their field. So that episode is coming up 2 weeks from now. If you're not already a subscriber to the show, welcome. Hit that subscribe button because we want to see you back here in 2 weeks from now when that next episode is out. Michelle, anything you want to say before we go today?
I really hope today's episode can be a way for you to feel like you can stop spinning your wheels, that you can pause and just dig into what you're already doing, get some stats, get some clarity, find where the holes are, do some measured strategic focus. This is the way out of the craziness, and we look forward to hearing how you go with it. Do let us know over in our Facebook page. Just search for Content Sales Podcast over in Facebook. We want to hear from you.
Thanks, Michelle. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sales Podcast. Bye for now.